Good morning, everyone. Kris here with Inspired Energy. Joining me, Mr. Hartwell. How are you this morning, Hartwell?
Hey, I'm good, Chris. Hello, everyone.
Yes. So, this morning, our exploration is taking us into Gemini. Yes, Gemini. And I think of Gemini, I think of the twins and the two personalities. But maybe you can tell us some of the qualities that are associated with Gemini to start off the day.
When I think Gemini, I think talkative. I think extroverted. I think curious. I think, oh, this person talks a lot. They might be superficial. They might be witty. They might be really good at noticing things that nobody else notices. I have
Mm-hmm.
Geminis in my family, and
Mm-hmm.
I went through a big Gemini phase in my youth, where all my friends seemed to be Gemini. And one thing I notice about Gemini, if you go and sit with them in the restaurant, they'll always somehow position themselves so they see the rest of the room and you're facing the wall. They'd like to see everything. They like to witness everything.
Mm-hmm.
This two-sidedness to Gemini, I've never really got that. That's not been my experience. I have a father that's a Gemini and a sister that's a Gemini, and I don't know what that is,
Oh.
but there's a versatility to them because they're a mutable sign. They're air, so they're sociable.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they are interested in trivia.
Mm-hmm.
They don't necessarily need to know the meaning behind the trivia. I mean, they're not necessarily deep people, but they like to know what everything's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the kind of things I think when I think of Gemini as a person and as an astrologer.
Mm-hmm. So, if you speak from the viewpoint of archetypes, what would you say about Gemini?
With the archetypes, we see, okay, what's the basic gist of something? So with Gemini, it's the witness, the teacher, the storyteller, the messenger. The
Mm-hmm.
trickster energy is related to Gemini often. Tricksters and mythologies, like, people like Loki,
Mm-hmm.
lovable, but like Loki in the Marvel movies, or Coyote in the North American movies, that trickster energy,
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
that wittiness, that there's an amorality there. Anyway, I've got off track.
Yeah, that's okay. So, what
Eternal
are the
Youth is another one. The eternal, the puer eternus, the eternal young boy who never wants to grow up, or the young woman who never wants to grow up.
Peter Pan syndrome?
Yes.
So, now that we've covered that, let's get into the human design side of it. So, what are the gates in human design that correspond to the sign of Gemini? And can you speak to what each of them are?
Sure. Well, there's five of them, like like all. I mean, five plus some kind of straddle. So one of them is called the Gate of the Now, Gate 20, and Gate 20 is all about. It's all about being in this present moment. It's about being a pure witness.
Mm-hmm.
When I think of Eckhart Tolle's work and the power of now, I think of the gate of the now. Being
Mm-hmm.
focused in the present, being absorbed there, wanting to instantaneously, it's about this moment, not the past or not about the future.
Mm-hmm.
And often people with gate 20, they see when they're not looking, they hear when they're not listening, they pick up things. And,
Mm-hmm.
they are. It's also important to remember, Chris, and I think about this a lot. Um, these gates aren't prescriptions,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that for me, in my experience with astrology and a lot of the things that I have studied, there's that sense of, oh, I have this aspect. Oh, I should be like this, as
Mm-hmm.
though. So, for instance, if you had the gate of the now, it doesn't mean that you need to be more in the present.
Mm-hmm.
If you have the gate of the now, it means you already are. It's part of your design.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to try to do anything. Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
Yeah, I think, well, when we look at these things, we always judge them. Are we really doing it? Are we not? So we have Jennifer who has her gates here. She's a 20
Oh,
and a
yes.
Gemini. So,
And so look for the evidence of how that's already showing up in your life because you already carry that as part of who you are. Now,
mhm,
gate 16, which is another one of the gates, is about enthusiasm, the gate of
mhm,
skills. Um, and this is about the person that is eager to jump into life. You
mhm,
know, they're often the skilled performer, the keen critic. They have a talent and enthusiasm for living. It's one of the names of this gate is enthusiasm. And it has us jump into things and try things and be there.
mhm. How
And,
wonderful. Jennifer has this one too.
okay. Well, when the world waits for I'd like the phrase that came up in my research today. The world
Mhm,
waits for the moment when the dancer becomes the dance.
mhm.
So gate 16 is part of the channel of talent. And so it's that skilled and enthusiastic involvement into things over and over again until
Mhm,
perhaps they become second nature and
mhm.
you lose your sense of self within the context of
Right.
the the activity that you're engaged in.
Mhm,
Um, the next gate 35, gate 16 and gate 35 mirror each other because then they're on the opposite sides. And this is another throat gate,
mhm,
a gate of change or progress. And people with this gate feel a desire for change. It's the gate of I feel, because it's a voice at the throat. There's a
mhm.
restless curiosity here to explore new horizons for the sheer exhilaration of doing it, a hunger for depth of feeling, a hunger for experience in general, because it's part of an experiential channel.
Mhm.
And that does sound like Gemini.
Mhm.
That very much sounds like Gemini, that desire for change with the versatility and the flexibility and the changeableness that are often associated with Gemini. So does being in the now. With Geminis, you often get, it's all about right now, baby. It's all
Yeah.
about, what's going on here.
Mhm.
And gate of enthusiasm, that has some of that freshness too.
Mhm. Yeah.
Now, the next gate, gate 45, which is the gate of the gatherer, this is a gate that has to do with dominance. It's the king or the queen, the master, the mistress. It's a natural authoritative voice.
Mhm.
Again, it's in the throat. This is
Mhm.
a guide for the tribe, and there's the ability to gather people together. And it's about what I have, what I what I have or don't have in life. So there can be a materialistic energy to the voice of gate
Mhm.
5. Now, on the surface, that doesn't seem very Gemini-ish to me.
Mhm.
We don't usually associate Gemini with authoritativeness,
Mhm.
although some of Geminis are great communicators and they can communicate authoritatively. But that's not sort of an energy that we normally associate with Gemini. Gemini, the queen, the king. But that energy, when we meet it,
Mhm.
is it does arise, from that area of the zodiac. My sister has that. She's kind of bossy.
Yeah.
um,
Or is that just because she's your sister? No, I'm just kidding.
well, it's like it just means that I've experienced her bossiness more.
Yeah.
Um, gate 12,
Mhm.
gate of caution. That is also in the throat. And I don't know if you picked it up by now, but every
Mhm.
one of these gates is in the throat. And that is a significant thing to be noticing because Gemini's, first and foremost, is considered to be ruled by Mercury, the planet of communication. And if there were a key word for Gemini, it would always be about communication. And isn't that interesting? All 5 gates
Mhm.
of the Gemini are all in the
Right.
throat. So the gate of caution, it's articulate, it's moody, it's mutative, it is part of the individual circuitry. Um, it's kind of like the 12 doesn't want to jump in. It stands still or contemplates something until it feels like the emotional mood is aligned with what it needs to say.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's not in the mood to speak or talk, then if they try and speak or talk, then it's obvious it's often not going to be listened to or received well by the audience. So gate 12 has this natural caution. It's just like, wait for me, wait till I'm in the mood, then I'll speak, and then I can be extraordinarily articulate
Mm-hmm.
if somebody has gate 12.
Yeah. It's almost like you're waiting for the exact moment for your message to land with somebody. Because,
Well, it's more like if I am in the right mood, then the message will land.
mm-hmm.
If I'm not in the mood, don't try and force. Oh, sorry, I'm sort of outing myself here. I have gate 12. It's not like it's kind of like if I'm in the right headspace, if I'm in the right mood, then what I say is going to land.
Mm-hmm.
But if somebody tries to have me communicate, if I'm not in the right space, or if I try to do it when I'm not in the right space, then it won't land. So
Right.
it's more about what is arising from me than whether it's the right moment for the other person.
Right. Right.
Does
So
that make
Jennifer is asking gate 31. What is gate 31?
Well, gate 31 is the gate of, I believe it's called the gate of influence. But
But
that's not one of the Gemini gates.
yeah, that would be covered in another star sign.
Yeah. Yeah. Because the throat has more gates than any other center. It has 3, 6, 9, 11. So this is 5 of the gates that are associated with Gemini.
Right.
Very interestingly.
So the patterns that we're seeing with Gemini is that all of the gates are within the throat, right?
Yes,
So
correct.
what other kinds of patterns are there?
Well, there's a couple of other patterns that I see here. The gate of caution, for instance, being very articulate and moody, that might be, sometimes people talk about Geminis having two more than one personality. And you can see, well, these gates have different personalities, don't they?
Right.
They communicate in different ways. And because they are articulate, or voices of the throat, it might be more obvious that Gemini has these different flavors than it is for the other things, because those flavors are being communicated.
Yeah.
Right?
It could be from gate 12 too, right? It says articulate and moody. So maybe that's where it comes up.
Possibly. One thing also I noticed is that each one of these gates is part of different circuitry.
Mm-hmm.
So gate 20 is part of the integration circuitry, which has us be centered in our sense in self and in the moment.
Right.
Gate 12 is the voice of the emotional circuitry and the individual circuitry. 16 is a collective logical voice, and 35 is a collective experiential voice. And finally, gate 45 is a tribal gate. It gives voice to the concerns of the tribe.
Mm-hmm.
So interestingly, I find that really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
All these 5 voices they cover all the different circuitry.
Mm-hmm.
So Gemini, in a sense, speaks for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Now, back in an earlier class, maybe I shared this, but one of the metaphors for describing the purpose of the throat is that back in the old days, when you had the town square, where that was where the market was and everything happened in the town square, that is the metaphor for what the throat is.
Well, like the town crier.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Yeah.
you go to the market, you go to the center of the town square, because that's where you buy groceries. That's where all the vendors are. That's where everything happens. That's where news is exchanged.
Mm-hmm.
And so, Gemini shows up there 5 times out of what did I say, 11 or 12.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's quite interesting.
Cool. Jennifer says you explain things very well. So
Thank
must
you.
must be your gate 12.
Well, I don't have any other gates of Gemini, but I do have that one. But I have 2 other gates as well.
Well,
Uh,
it's interesting too. Something else that I picked up is because I know our designs, right? And
yes.
that I have provocation. So when you were like outing yourself, it's probably because you felt provocated by me. So it's like,
You are a
you can
provoking
start to
person,
see.
Kris.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but you can start to see like little patterns in your conversations and then start to understand, oh, well, I'm designed that way and that's why I invoke that within that person. And then you can create like some understanding. And, you know, I think it's quite a fascinating subject, human design.
Yes. Because I
Hmm.
mean, just talking about riffing on you for a moment,
Hmm.
because don't we like to talk about ourselves? 839, it's about provoking and finding the spirit in something. Is the spirit right for me with Hartwell? Is
Hmm.
the spirit right for me in this situation or that situation?
Hmm.
And um, it's kind of like engagement. Am
Hmm.
I going to be met with the right spirit? And am I
Hmm.
going to enter into the environment with the right spirit? Because if you
Right.
enter in with the wrong spirit, you're going to provoke things you don't want to.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
sometimes you're going to provoke people into the right spirit,
Hmm.
and be able to the people join with each other in that spirit.
Right. Yeah. So, is
So
there anything else that you want to tell us about the gates of Gemini before we move on and sign off for today?
um, um, I would just make a general comment, not so much about Gemini, but as you get to know yourself, love yourself. Each one of these gates, each one of these 64 attributes is lovable and is necessary to life.
Hmm.
And Ra called the science, called human design, the science of differentiation.
Hmm.
Another way to put that in common language, because here it's Pride Month in Edmonton and in general, but there's this idea of diversity.
Hmm.
Gemini is about diversity.
Hmm.
Um, Gemini has always been about that willingness to communicate with everyone, and in general, human design is about. Um, we each have 26 activations in our chart out of 64, and
Hmm.
some of those activations are doubled up, right?
Hmm.
So out of the 64, we have 26 or less, each
Hmm.
of us. And so, can we become spiritually mature enough to at least theoretically appreciate and embrace all of the 64 ways of being?
Yeah, exactly. Alrighty. So next, I guess we're moving on to Leo next week.
Cancer?
Or Cancer, sorry. I missed one. So
Yeah.
join us next week where we'll dive into the gates of Cancer and see what mysteries that holds for us. So with that, we'll say goodbye. God bless. Have a wonderful day. Try to stay dry in all this weather. Anyways, have a good day, people. See you
Bye,
later.
everyone.
Bye.